Hello YouTube, I'm Jonah and this is my wife Nancy. So we bought this Ford Transit crew van to convert into a camper van. Join us in some of our van life travel adventures. And if you find my video interesting, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell. So today we're going to do the oil change in our Ford Transit. Alright, we got the front end on ramps and we also have our safety jack. So our oil pan is located underneath, closer to the passenger side. So here's the oil filter right here. And sometimes you can remove this filter by hand, but most often you'll have to use a tool to remove the filter. And at the Ford manufacturer, this filter is put on by a specialized torque gun. And here's your oil pan bolt right here. And we'll need a 15mm socket to remove that bolt. And just a tip to find out exactly where that bolt is, you can see it points directly to the passenger wheel. So now you know, you have an idea where it is. Now we'll take our 15mm socket, and remember to remove it, it's lefty loosey. And when we tighten it, it's righty tighty. And when you're doing this, you should have your left hand on the socket so it doesn't fly off the bolt, and your right hand cranking the wrench to the left. And because I had my camera on my left hand, I could not do it that way. If you don't use your left hand to stabilize that socket, you run the risk of stripping the bolt, especially if it's your first time doing this. But since I've been changing the oil on all my vehicles since high school, I've got a little bit of experience in doing this. Now I check to see if the bolt can freely move. And I realize it's still a little tight. So I'll take my socket again and loosen it some more, without totally removing it. Now that I know that the bolt is now moving, make sure you have your gloves on when you do this. Safety first, because the oil may still be hot. Also at this time, make sure that you have your oil pan ready so it catches the oil. And when you get the feel that you're on your last few threads, quickly remove that bolt, and there you go. Now I remove my oil cap. Put it to the side, make sure it's on a flat surface. Be careful, because if you drop it down there, it's not going to be fun fishing it out. Now you can inspect and clean your oil pan bolt. Notice the green rubber gasket? Looks all good to me. So while the oil is draining from the oil pan, we're going to remove the oil filter. First, I'll try to remove it by hand. And as you can see, I couldn't do it, so we're gonna have to use a tool. And before I use the tool, I'm just gonna give it a quick cleaning with a rag. Here's the tool I usually use. You can pick up this tool in Canada at Canadian Tire or in the States at AutoZone. I like this one because you can adjust it to different diameters of the oil filter. And I can put an extension since the oil filter is a little bit deep inside. So the first thing I notice is that the tool is having a hard time gripping the oil filter. So here's a trick I use. I take some duct tape and wrap it around the oil filter. And notice, I duct tape the bottom of the oil filter to give me a better grip when using the tool. After the tool has loosened the oil filter, we're ready to remove it by hand. Again, I would suggest using gloves when removing the oil filter, since the oil may still be hot, but in my case, it's cooled down quite a bit. Also, there's no way to avoid this. It's going to get a little bit messy. Just make sure you have your oil pan ready to catch the oil. Oop, there it is. Just remember to dispose your oil to be recycled. Make sure you put the dirty oil in its proper oil container. In Canada, we can usually leave it out to the curb and the recycling truck will come and pick it up. In the States, you can bring it back to your nearest AutoZone store. Now back underneath, we can see that oil is all drained out, ready to put the oil pan bolt back on. Always hand start when you're ready to put the plug back on. So by hand starting it, you prevent the bolt from cross-threading. I always cringe when I see those guys put the bolt back on with their air gun. Because number one, you can cross-thread the bolt. Number two, you will over-tighten the bolt. And number three, you can strip the bolt. Alright, time to tighten it up with a socket. Don't over-tighten. Nice and snug. Righty-tighty. Always read the manual on the type of oil filter your vehicle needs. I use the Ford Motorcraft oil filter, FL 500S. Also, always read the manual on the type of oil your vehicle needs. I use the Ford Motorcraft 5W30 synthetic blend motor oil. Also, take a look at your oil cap. It tells you the type of oil you need. Should also look at that area before you put the oil filter on. I've also heard of technicians not looking at it carefully, and there was the old gasket stuck on there, and then they accidentally double gasketed when they put the filter back on. And then they drove the vehicle back to their house, and there was a big oil puddle on their driveway. So before you put the oil filter back on, make sure you do this. Take a little oil and rub it around the black gasket on the filter. This gives it a better seal. And again, make sure you hand start it so you don't cross thread it. And then just hand tighten it. And you can use two hands if you want to, but I need to use my other hand with my camera. Alright, so far so good. And now just a quick cleaning in that area. Remember what I said about dropping things? Oops. Okay then, red funnel it is. Now we're ready to put the oil in. This Transit takes in 6 quarts of oil, or 5.7 liters. Okay, this is 6 quart. This is 5 quarts, so I got another quart. Okay, good. So I added another quart to give it the full 6 quarts of oil. Alright, once we're done, we put the oil cap back on and we start the car and let it run for about 10 minutes. Now we check underneath to see if there's any leaks.
We're good here. Leaks underneath. Good.
And it's all good. So even though we've got the exact recommendation of oil into our engine, it's always good to take a look at your dipstick. Your oil should always be between the 2 holes of the dipstick. You may want to check your dipstick at least twice. Looks all good. And to reset the oil light for the Ford Transit, check out part 2 of this video, how to reset the oil light on your Ford Transit. So if you find my video helpful, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell so you always get my latest video. Thanks for watching.